wondering how to do that, just put your cursor over where you see your own name or face and the three dots there at the bottom. It says rename. You're muted, Aaron.
Just saw that. Yeah, I see a bunch of names changing. I appreciate that. We have a couple new people to introduce, so I guess we can start off with that now. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting this morning. One new member that we have is actually Colette Tackett. If you want to just introduce yourself really quick, just say who you are and where you're from.
Sure. So personally, I've got 33 years of IT networking, manufacturing technologies, robotic technologies. Triton and Harvest Corp are located in Dilsenberg. And Triton's been around since 2013. They do manufacturing, robotic lines for packaging, welding, a visual inspection for automotive, that kind of thing. So we met up with Harvest Corp in 2021, and we're developing an exciting new autonomous automatic vegetable harvester. So that's why I'm here, and I'm happy to be part of the group.
Fantastic. Welcome. Conrad, have you introduced yourself to the group as well before?
I believe I have not. This is, in fact, my first time in the Zoom chat, so I might as well do that if we have the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Conrad from Finite Farms. I have a background in mechanical engineering, urban planning, bit of a mix mash with everything, but I have an immense passion for nature and agriculture. I have the pleasure of working for Finite Farms right now as a systems design lead. We're doing a bunch of fun work for crop thinning and trying to increase the nutritional load and decrease the labor cost of tree crops. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Happy to be here.
Welcome to the group. And I know we also have Dr. Christopher Henry that'll be joining, but he's not going to be for this call or the next call, so we'll hopefully get him when he's on at the end of the month. And then we actually have Dan Woods, who's from the Western Fair District. He is actually going to be our project coordinator for this. So Dan, if you want to introduce yourself and tell a bit about the group, a bit about yourself.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Like Aaron said, my name is Dan Woods. I've been with the Western Fair Association for coming up on 2 years now at the end of the month, working with the event management team. However, when I saw the position working with Aaron go up, I jumped at the opportunity to work with the AgRobotics group. Being part of the association, I was able to see some of the stuff that was going on, and it was always really interesting to me. So getting the chance to be able to work with the robotics directly is a great opportunity that I feel fortunate enough to be chosen for. I always grew up in rural areas, so agriculture was always something that I was exposed to growing up. And it feels great to sort of be going back to my roots a little bit, but in a really unique way. I'm excited to see where the industry goes and how I can help be a part of it.
Really happy to have you on the team. So Dan will be helping to liaison between all the different parties here and also helping to run some of the subcommittees and lining up a lot of our events for the knowledge transfer events, helping with demo days, everything along those lines. So you'll see him looped in on a lot of emails going forward. If you don't always get an answer from me right away, it's always good to have him CC'd to an email because he'll be on it like crazy. So really excited to have him as part of the team and kind of getting him up to speed on everything that's been going on.
Thanks, Aaron.
Welcome. I think that covered everyone. Yes, they haven't joined either. So we have Ilian from Janovic from Tiger Robotics Corp, but they're unfortunately not on the call at the moment. The other person that we have on the call right now is our presenter, which is Brandon Racco from the University of Guelph. He's from the real estate division. He's here to talk a bit about land opportunities and kind of something that Jason, myself, and Tyler on the call have went out and saw. Tyler from the University of Guelph. So Brandon, I'll change it over to you.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Brandon Rocco, and I manage the real estate division at the University of Guelph. And so part of that is a fairly significant urban land holding, but also a rural land holdings. And so one of those sites is a farm property we have in Puslinch that I will be presenting to each of you. And I really want to use this opportunity to brainstorm, to have an open conversation of the role that perhaps these land holdings could play in supporting the AgRobotics working group and the sector more broadly. And I met Aaron and through Tyler, and Tyler obviously is on this call. And so Tyler and I are working on a separate project. And he said, you know, there might be a group of folks who could really help create an interesting vision that could solve a problem if you are open-minded to letting us use this site. And so they invited me to present the opportunity here. And so I guess I'll get right into it. Let me just share my screen here. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So very high level agenda. I introduced myself. I'll give us an overview on the Puslinch farm. I want to just describe what that problem looks like from a university perspective. Perhaps I put forward a bit of an idea of a vision for these lands that we co-created initially, but I want that to just, you know, really stimulate some initial conversation, and then we'll move into conversation with the AgRobotics working group. So this is the opportunity. It's what we refer to as the Puslinch farm. It's approximately 300 acres. 130 of it is tillable acreage. It's a mix of Dumfries sand loam and Guelph loam. There's 170 acres you can see of a natural heritage system that runs through the middle of the property. There's two old homes on the property, one fairly substantial double brick red house, and then a more board and batten Ontario Gothic style farmhouse. There's large barns, there's 400 amp service, and the buildings are vacant. Right now, we're leasing the farmland to a local farmer, but it has essentially been vacant for over 12 years. And the university acquired the property through a gift of land through the estate of Mona Campbell. And if any of you guys are familiar with the university, Mona Campbell had donated to the small animal clinic. And so her name is on that. And she also was a philanthropist across the country. And this was one of her farm properties that she owned. And it's I don't have any photos of the red brick house, but it's a very typical farm. But what makes it unique is the location. So you can see it's quite large. If you can see my cursor, there's an outline. You can get a sense of the fields. It's, you know, a fairly traditional the property is fairly broken out in a very traditional way, as you can see by the old hedgerows and whatnot. But what's interesting is it feels like an incredibly rural setting, but it's close to urban centers. It's really located in the heart of the GTA in some ways. And so as you can see, it's 15 minutes from the university. It's over 20 minutes to Milton. It's, you know, 25 minutes to Cambridge, Oakville, Burlington, Hamilton, KW. And if you just overlay, if we were to put research institutions and colleges over top, you can see it's close to the University of Guelph and Conestoga. It is close to Waterloo and Laurier. It is close to McMaster and Mohawk College. So it's really located in the heart of the GTA. This is just to give you a sense spatially of where we can find this site. But the university, we have a bit of a problem. This was donated to us over 12 years, and for the most part, it sat vacant. And the buildings, even before they were donated to us, had sat vacant for several years before that. And so the property needs about $1.5 million of capital renewal and modernization to bring them up to usable state. The donor family, one of the two daughters, actually lives across the street, and she's really pressuring the university to utilize the site in creative and innovative ways beyond what it has been today, which is just leasing the land to a local farmer. And as the real estate division, it's within our portfolio. So we have a mission to monetize the site, but it has to be in ways that are mission aligned to the university. So we can't just, develop this for housing or whatnot. Our purpose and our goal is to monetize this in a way that supports the academic and research mission of the university. And so that's why I'm here, is I want to understand if there's an opportunity for this site to be leveraged as a center of excellence for AgRobotics. And how do we, position this, perhaps the township of Puslinch, as a center of excellence in developing AgRobotics and ag tech solutions? How do we work with the private sector and the public sector, whether that be the University of Guelph or other institutions, to use this site to create a place of knowledge transfer and taking the AgRobotics technology that many of you are developing and using this to test it. Invite students to the site, invite the public to the site to see what's happening. Perhaps there's investors or other folks in the private sector, and having this site be a place where that knowledge transfer can occur and can ultimately help support adoption across the agricultural sector in both Ontario and perhaps Canada. And the question that I think we always ask is, what does the university support look like? If you're working in this space, what does support look like to support your role in that knowledge transfer and that commercialization? What does workforce development look like? And what does student engagement look like? And how can a site like this support that knowledge transfer, that workforce development, and that student engagement? And then again, I always go back to this because I think the township of Puslinch is very amenable to any innovative ideas that we come forward with. And I think they would be interested in, what is positioning Puslinch, Ontario, as a leading hub for AgRobotics in perhaps Ontario or even Canada. So that's short. I want to really take our time to have a conversation around this. I'm happy to go back to old slides if you'd like me to, just to help you get situated further and where this site is located. But ultimately, we're really looking for ideas from the AgRobotics working group and whether this land could be a place that people would be interested in creating a center of excellence for AgRobotics, and how can we envision, both the public sector through the universities and students and the private sector coming together to co-create a vision here, to better utilize these lands in, the heart of the GTA. That is everything from me.
Fantastic. Any thoughts or comments for this?
I have one, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely, Conrad.
So, hey, Brandon, cool presentation. I'm wondering if that investment that you stated in one of your slides involves studies into things like how transit might be affected by the influx of university research, maybe developing a site that has things like warehousing space or presentation demo space, and whether or not the site has undergone studies for things like latent and patent defects in terms of agricultural utilization. You said it's been vacant for several years now, correct?
The buildings have been, but the land's been actively farmed.
Okay. And in terms of heritage preservation, is there an intent from the university to maintain those buildings as they are as heritage sites? I realize the new Bill 23 kind of changes the entire legislature around that, and the university might not have much input, but I'm wondering if there's been a vision to revitalize that site and utilize the buildings as they are, rather than redevelop from ground zero.
So they aren't heritage buildings. They aren't designated or registered. However, I think the idea would be if there's a possibility to adaptively reuse the buildings as we see them today. That's, I think, a kind of a first principle. Let's use what we have and let's restore what we have. And that's what that $1.5 million of capital renewal, that's what that is quoting. But it's not a sense of, okay, there's an old farmhouse, so that must return to residential. It's more or less, from a built form perspective and I would say the cultural heritage of the site, because it is fairly significant in its history, but not designated. You know, so really just thinking within the four walls, what type of new ideas can be reimagined and how can these facilities that exist today support that? But that doesn't mean, and that doesn't negate that new facilities can't be built. It just, I think, means that there's a preference to use what we have first, and restore what we have, and then consider new if there's a need for it.
Okay, that makes sense.
As it relates to studies and whatnot, no, we don't have an idea per se that would create the need for that. But it's something that we can always do. And of course, the Township of Puslinch, if we were to come forward with an idea, they would have ideas on how this, or they would be able to provide commentary on how this idea or the demand for this site could impact the local community.
That's exactly why I bring it up. That's an apt synthesis, just because I imagine there would be an influx of, transit if you have research projects happening on the site, not to mention how it might be easier to just streamline through early studies. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other thoughts or comments from the group?
I'm surprised. I guess I'll go. Hi, I'm Kristen, Kristen Obeid. Anyways, I think this is really cool. I was just curious about what the soil type is, thinking about potential, like right now, I'm not sure how much you've had some conversations with Aaron and Jason, I assume, and Tyler about our AgRobotics working group. And, we've been working together as a team, bringing in people from the whole innovation continuum, building these cross-functional teams to do projects wherever we could. And so looks like an excellent opportunity, but I'm just really curious because, we're trying to solve problems for specific commodities that have them. And so, is this site, would it be good for all different crops that were being grown in Ontario? Like, I can't imagine, I'm not sure if it'd be good for orchards or vineyards or just for annual vegetable crops or field crops, that kind of thing. That's where my question is. So I just wonder if you have an idea. Probably right now it's on a corn, soybean, wheat rotation. Yeah. So I'm just curious about that, because really in terms of AgRobotics and innovation, the first, the higher value crops is where we focus, because that's sort of where it will probably pencil out first. And so that's, I'm just curious about that. Is this like good land for multiple crops to make it so that the demonstration could be inclusive of all of agriculture in terms of the cropping side of things?
Sure. I would say that I think the way you framed your question is perfect, because we're looking for that type of input. So if you're able to provide, what type of soil you would require for each of those crops, then I can go out and do the testing in various fields and see, like, is the soil type that exists aligned with what you're looking for, and what you would need to be able to cover that spectrum of crops. It's the Dumfries sand loam and Guelph loam, it's okay soil, but I think that it's the farmer's been incredibly productive fields. So, but that's for the rotation, the cash crop rotation, right? I'm not sure how it would support vegetable crop or orchards, but that's something we can look into.
When we were talking, you did say there was interest with a local winery as well.
Yes, there was interest with a local cidery. He was interested in planting out about 10 acres of orchards. And so, that he seemed to think that it would be amenable to orchards, but I'm not sure. If you would need the data, then we can get that.
And I know you said you were also willing to have people come out and see the property too, if there is interest in that aspect as well.
Yes, of course. We can definitely host a tour if there's an interest. This is really just an introduction to get the conversation rolling and to get folks brainstorming and see if there's really a need for a test site like this, or if this isn't really a problem that would be applicable to the AgRobotics working group and to the sector more broadly.
I just saw we had a comment come in from Matt Stevens. On behalf of Finite Farms, we are interested in any location test sites as well. Any other comments on that, Kristen?
Well, Brandon, what traditionally has been cash crop there the last 5 years?
Wheat, corn, and soy. It's been a rotation. What does he have in right now? Right now is wheat. The year prior was soy, and the year prior to that was corn. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I guess my other comment is, how would this all be integrated into the current Innovation Ontario Farms Network that's currently trying to get going here, this first year of it? And I don't know, maybe Chuck or someone else might have a comment about that and how we can integrate this all together, if that's an opportunity, or, you know, it's exciting to have an opportunity like this.
Chuck?
Well, I had two questions, and I'm gonna start. My first one would be, like, I know the family wants to do something, and when you say you want to have a plan and stuff like that, we are, we're a couple of years into the robotics working group. We're 3 months into the innovation farm, and so I know we want to strike when the iron is hot, but what is your window look like as far as timing? Like, do you need, do you have a committee that has to have an answer by December? Do we have time to figure this out? That's my first question.
Sure, there is no timeline. The site has sat empty for 12 years.
Right.
So it hasn't been an urgent problem. But there has been a renewed interest from our board of trustees to see, how can this site support the university more broadly? And there's a few reasons for that. The first is we're seeing a lot of interest from farmers donating their land to the university. And so we want to understand what are the opportunities that are available if we receive gifts of land beyond just the traditional, leasing for cash cropping or leasing the property, the houses on the building. So there's an interest in taking our time, being incremental and getting this right. Because if we can get it right, then we're able to demonstrate to other donors and to that this is the opportunity for donating the lands to the university can translate into the university using the lands for innovative reasons. I can give you an example that isn't this site, but there is an island in Lake Simcoe, and there is a donor who wants to donate their 150 acres to the university, specifically for genetics of honeybees to be able to isolate honeybee colonies and breed out certain qualities of honeybees to make them more resistant. And so that's a really interesting, reason to want to donate your land to the university. And because of where it's located in an island, they're able to do that. And they're really able to isolate the colonies and do breeding in that way. And same with this, we're looking at this site because of its location. We don't just want to lease it for cash cropping. It's like 15 minutes down the road from the university. And as I showed in that map, it's really in the center of major urban centers and really well connected to other research institutions and colleges from a workforce development perspective. And so there's just an interest in getting this right with an interesting and innovative solution. The donor lives across the street, but the daughter of the donor lives across the street, and same thing. She's just really interested in seeing something happen here. But there isn't a hard and fast deadline. It's and I think that when I met with Tyler and Aaron and Jason, I think that's came across pretty clear. And why I'm here is to say, like, we have a really unique opportunity. There's a really open-mindedness at all levels, from my office to the executive team to the board. They want to see something innovative and exciting happen here. And I think they're willing to wait for that type of vision to emerge and also have it see it through in an incremental fashion if that's the best way forward. So I hope I answered your first question. It's quite long-winded though.
Yeah, that's okay, and that's what I was hoping you were going to say, because we're going to need some time to kind of parse this. The other piece and you don't need to address this today, but I know that for the group as we move forward, some things that we're going to need to know is like money is always a factor, and so we're going to need to know kind of what the university's expectations about monetization actually mean. We are trying as part of the group to spread the wealth around. So we don't necessarily need like one site in one location, because that's not necessarily representative of the province. You know,
Right.
so so it comes down, there's all kinds of what ifs and scenarios and things. So I think we need some time to kind of work our way through it. But in the meantime, to work out, kind of what what does monetization actually mean? And and then generally the way this working group has evolved and how the innovation farm has evolved is sometimes we park these ideas for a bit and suddenly a demand or a requirement presents itself. And then we reach into the bag of tricks and say, hey, guess what? We have this person over here, we have this land over here, we have this funding over here, and these things come together.
Right.
Which is what Kristen alluded to with the team. And she's been very good at kind of pointing us in the right direction to make those things happen. And so what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to not be disappointed if you don't hear back from us in a week. And say, these are the kinds of things that we're happy to hear about and happy to know that they exist. And we're very happy to work with the University of Guelph, obviously, and along with other schools, and then we can start to put this kind of stuff together. So I think a set of expectations and things and would be great. Great.
Sure. Thank you for setting those expectations, and I think we're aligned. I would rather, if there's an opportunity here, that proper time be taken to flesh that out, create an enticing vision, and to have a plan to be able to execute on it over time in a way that works for everyone. And I think that relates to the monetization piece as well. This isn't, the focus isn't solely on maximizing the revenue potential of these lands. It has sat empty for 12 years, with the exception of the leasing to the farmer. I think it's more about how do we bring together that mission aligned work, and where there's revenue generation opportunity, that's for the maintenance and to be able to maintain buildings, be able to put aside what's required for CapEx over the long term of the site. It's not solely around, profit generation.
Brian Lynch.
To unmute. Yeah, just wondering if how far it is to the closest airport, because if that could affect like if we want to try out drone operations. I know there's a couple airfields in the Waterloo airport around there.
Sure, here I'll check right now. I just took my screen.
Yeah, I can talk to that. I'm a pilot. You're within the Toronto controlled air zone, but that's way above surface level. So that's up like 5,000 feet. You're about 15 miles to Kitchener-Waterloo International Airport, and you're about, I don't know, about the same to Hamilton International Airport. So you cannot go up high, but you can operate low in the control zones. So below 1,000 feet in that area.
Nice. So we'd be fine if we wanted to do drone stuff then.
Very likely, unless they change the control zones based on what's going on.
And
or unless you do something really dumb.
Yes.
we have one question as well from Conrad. Are there any current research projects planned for the land during the transition period from monocrop ag? Any cross-university projects?
No.
No. Kristen?
Yeah, I guess I just want to say thank you for bringing this opportunity to the group. I think overall, when somebody comes and presents, we have this land and we like you guys to be included in doing something innovative is truly awesome. But right now there are so many little bits happening in the province with respect to ag robotics, innovation. There's lots of little pots of money. And I think something that we really should do as a working group and take back is get a whiteboard out and see where all these little pockets of things are coming, because like look, the Ontario Centers of Innovation, they just announced a big thing for ag tech and there's lots of money there, and of course OMAFRA has all of these different programming. So maybe we need to sit down, step back a little bit and see how all of these pieces fit together. There's Vineland, there's U of G, there's Waterloo, there's all of these different things happening. So I think, as well as our Innovation Farms Network, and how can we all work together to leverage what's happening and build something that's really great that everybody can participate in. And so that's what I'm going to task the group to start thinking about. And I know we don't need more meetings right now. It's a really busy time of year, but just maybe think about some of these things and how we can we don't want to miss opportunities, right? But we also want to be thoughtful in how we move forward. So in 10 years' time, we have what we needed. We can predict what we need for the future. So, but yeah, I think this really has maybe made me step back for a second and think, yeah, you know what? There's tons of things happening, and how can and that's really been the purpose of the group, is to bring all these opportunities together and figure out how we can efficiently work together so we're not duplicating effort. And so I think with that, sort of vision, we step back and take a look at this and take our time and move forward that way. And like Chuck said, yeah, if this is really busy time of year, we're just getting everything started. The weather hasn't been helpful, but yeah, I think that we would welcome continued discussion about this, and maybe this is another subcommittee. Like we need another subcommittee. I'm not sure, but yeah, those are my thoughts. I think that innovation, definitely in terms of increasing productivity and efficiencies and sustainability, are key, and resiliency, as well as um, everything with all of that, those keywords in agriculture right now. So we need to step back and think it through, be thoughtful, and I think that's what's really great about the group. So thanks again for the presentation, and I look forward to continuing working with the university to see where this goes. It's exciting times in agriculture right now. So thank you.
Then just to add on that, a little bit of history. About 10 years ago, OMAFRA and the University of Guelph were creating an ag resource map. Basically, in Ontario, where are all the resources that support ag? Support groups, research sites, companies, specific private companies, and the resources. I know it's not under your umbrella, but I would highly recommend that you kind of ask around OMAFRA to see, because they kind of are the accounting firm for what are the ag resources for the province. And they may be 3/4 of the way there in terms of, hey, look at all these resources that Ontario has to support competitive ag. So, and then, I mean, maybe you pull some academics in there too, to do some of the kind of, the brainy work of figuring that stuff out. But I don't think you need this group to go out and do that job, because that's the province's job. What are our tools that the province can work with? So, I'm sure a lot of that information is embedded somewhere in MAFRA, in my opinion. We just need to get to it. The other thing is we got to think about how maybe this site is used for multiple purposes. I mean, ag, definitely we could use, so maybe we use 50 acres. And then, there's some other crop people just want to do basic crop trials. They use, 50 acres. Somebody wants to use the river, the creek, and the forest to see converting back and forth from farmland to wild type, and stuff like that. So, the value might be in it being multi-purpose instead of just for us.
If I could add to that, David, I think that's a great point. I presented it as the site in its entirety, but certainly we don't have to have a vision that would use the site in its entirety. I think I kept on mentioning, incrementalism. I like that approach, especially with these big visions. But yeah, if that means there's just a 10-acre site to get started and we need some sort of storage facility and that's sufficient, then that works. And then that can scale depending on what the vision over the long term, or perhaps there's funding opportunities, different partners emerge. The flexibility is there. I think it's really just about like, how do we leverage this site to really support what is happening in this space, which is trying to solve problems, right, and advance the AgRobotics and the ag tech sector more broadly in Ontario. So thank you for mentioning that, David. It really doesn't need to be an all or nothing approach. It can be fairly, it can start small and scale. Chuck, I noticed your hand has been up.
Sorry, just to add on to that quickly, I remember you mentioned too that like a baker at one point was interested in working there too. So yeah, it could even potentially be something down the chain of food and agriculture, if there's interest like to shared use in that way.
Yeah, I can speak quickly to that. He was been named one of the top 10 chefs in the country. He has 4 restaurants in Ontario, one in Kimberley near Collingwood, one in Hamilton, and he was interested in converting what we call the Blue House into a bakery and the Red House into kind of a steak frites, a French inspired restaurant. And he had just opened a restaurant, so his capital was tight, but he was really, so there's a lot of interest in this site because of its proximity. But I think the magic is when we bring together a bunch of distinct and different uses that are, complementary, but are also advancing ultimately what the University of Guelph is here for, which is, agriculture, food, and rural community engagement. So he is someone that we could engage if there was interest in having some sort of food and beverage component on the site in the long term.
Chuck, you had a comment?
Well, I was just going to give a kind of, it's actually even builds on what Jason talked about, is that we never know who might come to the table. And as an example, Salford Machinery wants to test a new piece of equipment that they built on our innovation farm network. So they reached out to us and they've said, hey, we've got this new precision ag tool. We want land. We want an independent third party to validate its accuracy and how well it works. So, part of putting these things together is companies and groups are going to come to us, looking to us for ideas and space and land and technology. And I think the key is to keep our eyes and ears to the ground, and stuff will come up. So long as we're patient and as long as we all communicate, I think that's the key. So there's the stuff will come to the table.
Absolutely. No, I think that that's why we have things like this, and we get that information out there to everyone, and that can kind of percolate through the circles that is connected to this as well. So we'll see where that all goes. So Brandon, really appreciate your presentation and to your time answering the questions. And if anyone wants any connection with Brandon, I'm more than willing to connect you with him. And if there is a lot of interest as well, we can possibly do a tour at some time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron and Jason, for inviting me to present the opportunity, and for each of you for the engaged conversation. And I will say, if there's interest in touring the site in the future, once the busy season is over, maybe towards the end of summer, I'm happy to coordinate that and facilitate that, and we can have a field trip day out to the Puslinch farm. So hopefully I'll see many of you then.
Yeah, just one more quick question. How close is it to the old Cambridge Research Station? Do you know?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. That the University of Guelph had. No?
David Hobson, would you know?
Yeah, no, I don't know how close it is to that research station, but this is basically 2 kilometers east of Morriston, the town, Morriston.
Okay.
It is
I'm
right at the end
I'm-
of Victoria Road, if you know where Victoria Road is in Guelph.
Mhm.
You take Victoria Road right to the end, it goes over the 401.
Yeah.
And then it extends with a little jog. And so it's literally 2 kilometers east of Morrison in the little town.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Maybe I'm just dating myself because the Cambridge Research Farm is where I started my career, and we used to grow lots of vegetables there and do lots of research there. So, yeah.
It's about 20, 25 minutes away from Cambridge. So perhaps
Okay, yeah.
that's the best answer.
Anyways, okay.
Okay.
We need to move along. Thanks so
Take
much.
care, everyone. See you soon.
So our
fine.
next section is just going over conferences, meetings, field demonstrations, and field tours. So at the beginning of last week, I guess it was, we had the Agritech Venture Forum. I know Peter Fisher was going to give an update on that, but unfortunately he's not on the call. I think Joe Dales was there as well. Joe, would you be willing to give an update on that event?
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, it's an annual event in Toronto. It gets together all the investors, a lot of startups, kind of service providers, and it was the May 1st and 2nd this year. Fair number of people from the AgRobotics sector and investors there. So Sean O'Connor from Forage, used to be Tech Brew, out of BC. They're the mushroom picking robot technology company. He presented to the group. They're making really good progress, so it was interesting. And then Peter, I can't remember his Auto Farm, I think. Peter Fister presented as well. So it was good. There are venture capitalists looking at it. RHA is interested in robotics. Mommy Ventures, which is part of the Andersons out of Ohio, and they operate Thompson's in Canada. He said he was interested, and they've made some investments. And then Fulcrum Ventures. I'm going to send both Mommy and Fulcrum our AgRobotics working group annual report, and we'll see if we can get them engaged and at least be involved in this. Those were the kind of the highlights. I think it's next year. It's first week of May again in Toronto. So if anybody wants to know specifics, hunt me down, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Appreciate
What
that,
was
Joe.
what was the flavor of the day? Were they all Canadian startups? Were there some international ones? US?
No, from all, yeah, this is a pretty international event. Now it's probably 60-70% Canadian, but yeah, startups from all around the world. Flavor of the day, the venture capital community is kind of frozen right now with the interest rates jumping up. Just capital's tight, so the investment in ag tech is probably a third of what it was 2 years ago. There's still deals being done, but smaller deals, lower valuations. So the counsel to all the robotics companies is conserve cash, don't run out of cash. It's a little bit tough going right now.
For that update, Joe. Just going through some of the other items. So coming up, we have the Aviation Robotics Summit, which is May 14th to 16th in Pittsburgh. And then the next two are the save the dates for our demo days. So June 27th, we're still deciding on the locations for that one, but we'll probably be starting at Haggerty again. We have a subcommittee dedicated to planning this out, so we'll have information on that hopefully in the coming weeks for everyone. And then the other one will be at the 4th of July, which will be at the Muck Station as well. So we're going to have that hopefully more detailed for you in the coming weeks, but I'll keep you up to date, and we'll send out emails to everyone on that. Yes, Kristen?
I just suggest putting those save the dates on the website Because I get a lot of people asking me when the tours will be already, and I say, well, just check the website. We'll be putting information up there as it gets developed. So just
Yep, and
Have
they
a good day.
should be up hopefully soon as well.
excellent.
There. And then another one is the International Symposium for Robotics and Automation, which is on the 22nd of July in Manhattan, Kansas. And then we also have the Robotics Application Conference, which is the 31st of July. And that's a virtual conference as well. If anyone does have any events, meetings, or anything along those lines that you'd like to see on the agenda, please send them my way so I can have them put on there. Just a quick update on the project as well. So Monday and Tuesday, Dan Woods and I were both at the Toronto Congress Centre with the Skills Ontario competition. We were there showing off the Oz and engaging with a lot of school kids and their teachers as well. I think they had between 12 to 14,000 students come through there. It's an amazingly well put together event. And it's really great to see people getting interested in the trades and everything along those lines. I met with the Minister of Agriculture, Lisa Thompson, and I kind of brought up about when the official announcement for the AgRobotics will be happening. And she says that is in the works. So we'll be hearing from them soon on that and kind of getting that all fleshed out and planned out, just as a quick little update on that. But she's really excited and she's really happy to see what is going on with the AgRobotics working group. So it's really great to see that acknowledgement's there. And I also have connections now with First Robotics and also with the skills competition with the robotics section. So we're hoping we can kind of weave that in to get student engagement as well and get more interested and more, I guess, specialty and techs in the industry here as well going forward. As the industry grows more and more, we're going to need more and more of a labor force to feed it. So we keep it going. And then obviously the demo days, you're going to see the subcommittee giving us information on that. We are also planning on having other subcommittees coming out. We'll give updates on that and opportunities to join those as we flesh out what we're going to do for each one. You'll get emails from Dan Woods possibly on that in the near future as well. And then funding opportunities. There was one I see it was put in our chat right here, which was from OCI. The other one that came out was the Canadian Agricultural Strategic Priorities Program, which I do believe Sophia was mentioning on the call last time. I don't know if she was on the call today. No, I don't think she is. So unfortunately she's not, but there's links out to that. And if anyone has questions on that, I can definitely put you in contact with anyone that can help you along that way. We have around 10 minutes left, so now we can shift it back into a round table and bring up any comments or questions. I do have one question to ask everyone here, though. Has anyone heard back on their OAFI funding or OAFI funding?
OAFRI.
OAFRI.
Yes, Haggerty AgRobotics was approved by OAFRI for our UV light project that we're working on. So that's moving ahead. And we had an original plan to order a new robot. I'm not sure if that's still going to happen, but we may just use one that we already have. And so that's good news. The LED lights are here. The engines are being built to control the lights. So expect to see more over that. So very happy about that announcement. It was 200,000, just in case people are wondering.
Dan Oliver.
Hey, good morning. Yes, Norterra was also happily conditionally awarded to up to $200,000 for the launch and expansion of our agronomic research demonstration and pilot sites. So working on those to get those off the ground here this year. Obviously it's the 10th of May, so certainly not going to do what we had hoped to, but certainly making plans for 2025 to knock the doors off the place. So very, very happy to be the recipients of that.
Excellent.
Anyone else?
So I'll jump in with a an event we're currently planning. And so we're hoping to show the TED robot over at Cave Spring on May 21st. And so if there's any vineyard operators on this call, or if you know a vineyard operator, essentially anyone who wants to see this TED rolling, reach out to me. More details to follow. We're still kind of working out the exact timing, but May 21st is the target.
And just keep in mind that this is an invite only event, so we do need to control who's coming and know who is coming to the event.
Exactly.
So just a couple comments. I'm setting up like 6 demonstrations in that area. I'm going out on Wednesday. Cave Springs, one of my locations too. But they're like really behind in spraying and stuff. So you're gonna have to maybe keep that a bit flexible if you do want to get the growers there. Just from my knowledge of what's been happening. Yeah.
Oh,
Be a little, maybe a little nimble.
No, that sounds good. Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah.
Brian Lynch.
Yeah, I was just going through a tunnel right as I wanted to say that at Vineland, we also got approved for our OAPRI project to pilot and demo our cucumber harvesting robot. That's for greenhouse operations. And a big part of that project will be to bring growers and members of the industry for like commercialization, potential commercialization partners to see it demoed. So if anyone's interested in visiting at some point, probably I'd say maybe end of the summer, early fall, once we really get going with it, then of course, welcome to come to Vineland and check it out.
That's definitely something we will keep in mind. I know there's quite a bit of interest in that.
I have a question on that. Is that for high wire or low wire cucumber production?
High wire, yeah. Yeah, we target high wire just
yeah,
it's
that's
so much easier. I'm interested in exploring how we could leverage what we have to look at the umbrella growing technique, but it's a jungle when you're doing it with the umbrella way. So I don't know how well it'll work.
No,
it's also
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Christine.
No, sorry. Just my question was, I think the original was for low, and then most greenhouse growers are using high wire over 95%, so that's good. I was just checking.
Yeah, we're also it's also meant for long English cucumbers only. But again, we're interested in looking at how it could apply to mini cukes. And then of course going beyond that, what we've learned applied to other crops. But yeah, it's pretty specific for now.
Fantastic. Anything else the group would like to bring up in the round table section?
I can just touch on what we've been doing at Haggerty the last couple weeks. So we've been pretty busy the last couple weeks getting all the different robots deployed and working. So the TED robot is now up at Cave Spring. So we'll spend the next week or two just going through the navigation maps, everything we mapped last year, and making any changes that are needed to that to make sure it's running smoothly. To hopefully get cultivating in a couple weeks' time. All of our Oz robots, we've delivered about half of them to our customers. So those are now working in the fields. The other half will get delivered in the next couple weeks as well. And our farm droid units, the muck station, they've been busy seeding their onion trials over the past week. So they've seeded their trials at the research station there, and then also at Ian Smith up in the Keswick Marsh. I got a notification, I believe about 9 or 10 o'clock last night that it had finished seeding that field. So had a few issues getting started with some faulty parts, but once we got those solved, it finished the rest of the field, and they were able to see that at about twice the speed than they were last year. So that was quite promising to see. And then our farm droid unit in New York has been seeding last week as well. So they're doing some trials on various vegetable crops, different seeding methods, that kind of stuff. So
that's fantastic.
Was that the Cornell stuff? Was that the Cornell stuff, Grant?
No, Cornell, they have an Oz unit. So they've been just starting to do some of that.
Okay.
This is at another customer who's in
Okay, I just saw,
larger scale organic grower. So
okay, I saw on Lynn's Twitter account that Oz was doing something. I wondered if
Yeah. Well, and Grant, do you want to talk about you went to Michigan State University as well? Want to talk about that?
Yes. So Farm Droid, they have a demonstration for unit that was sent to Michigan State University. So last week we visited there while they were commissioning the robot, just to kind of provide expertise and see how it was working in their process. So they're doing a very similar thing to what we're doing, comparing different seeding methods for various crops. And they have a four-wheel machine, and there was interestingly a few issues in regards to tractions with that four-wheel machine, which I didn't expect. So we'll see how it works in the muck soil when it gets here. But overall, it was good to talk to the Farm Droid people that were there, and the Michigan State people, because it seems like we're doing very, very similar work that they're trying to do, and it'd be good to collaborate on those efforts so we're not kind of duplicating everything that we're doing. So
Yeah.
Coming down to our last minute here, but so we'll go through some really quick questions, Kristen.
Oh, I just wanted to say, yeah, a group of there's 5 different US states. I was meeting with them in order, some of them are part of this working group too, Dan and Lynn and whatnot, just for everybody to know. And we really want to share that information across. Maybe just quickly, Grant, you could let people know the differences, that what's different about the Farm Droid this year, why it can seed faster, and maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last year when we did the seeding with the Farm Droid, it was done the way the Farm Droid is with its seeding units. Normally onions are seeded in twin rows very close together, but with the Farm Droid seeding units, those rows have to be spaced out apart. I think the minimum is about 11 inches that they can get together. So we had to come up, or the research station and us, we had to come up with a way to either a promising way to seed a single line that was spaced further apart. So there's 3 methods that they were comparing. There was a single row seeded with seeds about 1 inch apart. The other method to compare against was a conventional seeding, so the twin rows at normal spacing. And then the third method was a single row with onion seed dropped 3 at a time, about 4 to 5 inches apart. So that triple seeding method, that's what we're comparing at Ian Smith's to the conventional and the single row. It showed quite a few promising results last year. And that triple seeding method allowed us to speed the machine up to seed twice as fast as well. The way the machine works, it determines its spacing by speeding up or slowing down the travel speed of the Farm Droid. So at that wider spacing with the triple seeds, we can speed it up that much more.
Fantastic. Colette, I saw you had a question. Is it just a quick question? No, we're just coming to the end of our time now, but.
No, it wasn't a question. It was just, I want to let everyone know that we're in the field right now testing our harvester with asparagus, and it's looking really good.
That's fantastic. Great to hear. Colette will actually be presenting next Friday, so I'm sure she's going to give a bit more update on that. So thank you all for joining us
and lots
today.
of photos.
Fantastic. That's what we like to see. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope to see you again next week. If you have any questions on anything or need any connections with anyone, please feel free to reach out to myself or Dan Woods, and we can take it from there for you.
Thank you for having me. Have a great week.